What's up, TCC, TU, and ORU? We are back at it with a brand new season. That's right. We are here in spring 2026. How you feeling? How's life going? You ready? You excited? Maybe some of y'all are coming in. It's rough. You're like, man, I'm barely made it through one semester. Or maybe you're coming into this semester and you're exhausted, tired, not ready for school. You're not alone. You're not alone. I feel you. This week I had classes myself, and so I have been feeling the exhaustion, being like, man, I gotta wake up early now. And so you might be feeling it. You're not alone. I just want to let you know, you are not alone. As a side note, we have been recording episodes, and I'm so excited for this season. So far, the stories have been a blessing to myself. I have been encouraged just in my own personal journey listening to them, and I know that you'll be encouraged by them as well. I remember getting a message, and this was over last season, and this is kind of an encouragement for me on this whole fitting room journey. And in that message, the person was sharing with me how they had listened to a story and it made them emotional and it like really moved them, and they could relate to what the person was saying and what they were sharing. And it's just a reminder to how powerful it is, for one, to know your story, but for two, to share your story. To be able to share your life experience with other people is honestly one of the most profound things. It's the most beautiful, precious gift that you can give to a person, because you can give somebody money and what happens? Money runs out. And maybe for you, you're like, I'm in need of money because this next semester is costing. If that's you, sweet. I feel you. You ain't alone in that either. Uh, but what's interesting about money is money comes and goes, right? You get somebody a gift, eventually it gets old. But something that's beautiful about a story is a story follows you, especially if it's a story that you connect with. A story can inspire you. A story can move you. A story can turn your life around, especially if it's given at the right moment, at the right time. And so, in this episode, you might be wondering, dude, where's the stories at? Like you're this is a fitting room and you're talking. I like to come on here and I like to start the season with kind of a reminder of the mission, what it is that we're doing. And the mission is listening is loving. And that's the whole premise. The fitting room is a framework that is teaching people how to listen, how to enter into these spaces and how to love. And so in this episode, one of the things I want to talk about is not necessarily the listening aspect of it, but instead I want to talk about the power of your story. And you may not realize how powerful your story is. Maybe for you, you think that your story is not significant. Maybe you think that you are, what's the word, basic. I don't know if people use that word anymore, but maybe you think that you're basic, or I know that some people have used the word mid. Maybe I'm showing my age by doing this. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to. Anyways, but we can think that our story is boring and has no significance, but in reality, there's so much packed into your story that it's actually the revealer of who you are. If you want to know who you are, all you have to do is look at your story. When it comes to the grade you're in, there's a bunch of people in that grade. Your major, there's a bunch of people in that major. Even when it comes to personality types, there's people with similar personality types out there. Yes, yes, yes. But at the end of the day, no one else has lived in your shoes. Even the people that grew up in the same house as you didn't experience that house the same way you did. And so your story is packed with what your values are and where those values come from. Your story is packed with what brings you meaning, what brings you excitement, what brings you purpose. And so when you take the time to reflect in your story, when we take the time to reflect in our story, we actually discover who we are. And we live in a time frame right now, and you might be feeling this, right? There's like a lot of like political tension. It's so easy to fall into disagreements, and I blame algorithms and the natural human heart and tendency. But when you look at the world that we're living in, it's very much divided, and that division is found in what I call labels, right? And you might be familiar with this. When you put a label on somebody, you don't have to discover them. You don't have to explore them. You don't have to take the time to understand them. When they have a label that's on them, you can just walk away and say, that's who that person is. That's who they are. That label can be mean, right? They're a jerk. That label can be, they don't care about people. And that's it. It's final. They don't care about people, and you've written them off based off of that label. You've written something over them, and you no longer choose to explore them. There's a guy, and I don't mean to get too weird, but there's this guy. His name is Emmanuel Levinas. I might be messing it up, but he stated something that I thought was super interesting. He said that people who view other people and place them inside of a box is actually committing violence towards that person. So the moment that a person puts a person in a box, they commit violence towards them. Now, that's really, that's dramatic. Maybe, right? To a certain degree, like, do you put, you put a label on somebody, you put active violence. But one thing I do recognize from that quote that I think is valid is the moment that you put somebody in a box, it's easier to commit violence towards them. And I mean, I could give a simple example. Take somebody that you put a label on them. This person's a jerk, right? And then after some time, you find out that they were expelled from school. The thought that would come into your mind is, oh yeah, I'm not surprised. That's actually justified. Like they deserve that, right? Because they've been put in a box, and you don't have the curiosity to want to explore where's that person coming from, what happened, what were the story details, what's his backstory. And again, I'm not saying that we need to do the backstory of any people who do atrocious things, but I'm saying the backstory is helpful to understand where a person is. But that's not even why I'm sharing this. The reason why I'm sharing this is because when you come into listening is loving, and you come to realize, okay, maybe we've put a box over a person, or you put a person in a box or whatever. I think sometimes we put a box on ourselves. Like we put a box over our story, and we just title it boring. And so we never get curious about our own story. And instead we end up, and I'm guilty of this, right? I'm not trying to say I'm guilty of this. Sometimes you just spend all this time scrolling on your phone looking at the stories of other people. But you have a story. You have a story. As a matter of fact, I would even go as far to say is that your story is your superpower. It's not trying to find the right major. It's not trying to figure out what you need to do in life. It's not about chasing trends and trying to find out where to go. You have a story, and that story is your superpower. And it's in that story that you actually find out who you are, and where you get meaning, and where you get purpose, and what your strengths are, and you discover you, right? Because you can take these personality tests, and they may say you're extroverted or introverted, and some of those questions may look like, do you like to stay home and read a book, or do you like to go out and party? Like, what do you like to do? And I'm literally thinking to myself, that's a hard question. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like to go out, but it depends who all is going out. And it depends what type of book I'm reading at home. And it depends when was the last time I read a book at home. When was the last time I went out to a party, right? There's all of these nuances, but what doesn't really have all that nuance is your story, what you actually did, what choices you actually made, what you went through in your life. And whether it was a negative experience, because negative experiences may show what value that you have was missing, or whether it was a positive example or story, and that shows what value you are living in. Either way, when you take the time to dive into your story, you actually discover who you are. And so when I sit down here and I'm listening to stories, I'm listening to people's experiences, it's almost like people have an opportunity to reflect in their own lives. And this happens several times where I sit down with someone and they say, man, I never thought about this stuff like this. And that's the power of diving into your story. You gain clarity, you gain a level of resilience, because when you know what you've been through and how you've grown, and somebody can listen to you and hear that, it actually gives you resilience to face the challenges that are in front of you today. And so when we talk about listening is loving, when we talk about diving into the stories, what we're really talking about, and this is kind of, what I'm trying to dive into this video, is what we're really talking about is building a culture of resilience, of people who listen and love on each other, to know each other's stories, to know each other's experiences, to see, okay, I know that there's this label, but let me take the time to understand. And by you listening to someone else's story, it helps you develop a framework or an understanding of, man, this is how other people view the world. And that's such a big eye opener for anyone to realize that your perspective is not the only perspective that exists on the planet. And we should be thankful that it's not, right? I should be thankful that my perspective is not the only perspective, because my perspective is very, very limited. And what it does too is it brings value to everyone's experience, because everyone's experience matters. Everyone's story matters. Everyone's story has value to the conversation. Everybody's story has value to understanding how the world works and functions. When you want to know, hey, how's Tulsa? What's going on in Tulsa? What are the experiences in Tulsa? When you listen to stories, you actually get that. You can probably try to get that from data too, but even data misses the story. As a matter of fact, oftentimes people try to take data and create a story. But behind the data is the real story. Behind the label is the real story. And I just want to help people go under the label. Man, that should have been the podcast name. Under the label. That would have been cold. But it's the fitting room, because that's the framework. I am super hyped today. I don't know if I'm super hyped, but I'm super hyped on this pod. I'm super hyped on this year, this 2026, the podcast, where we're going to go, how this is going to go. This is about to be phenomenal. We have some things planned for the year. I don't know if they're going to happen, but I know that they're planned. And we are going to see how this all develops. And so thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank y'all so much for making it to this far in the video. Y'all are awesome and phenomenal. I am excited for the future episodes. This one's dropping, and then we're going to drop the episodes the week after, and we'll just keep them coming for as long as we see kind of fit. No pun intended, because of fitting room. But anyways, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank y'all so much for following along. If you want to share your story, I would love to be able to connect with you. I would love to be able to get you in this place, recording with us, sharing your story. Feel free to fill out the Google form that is available. It's on our Instagram page. It's on our YouTube channel. I think it's on some of our podcasting platforms as well. But either way, get connected. We'll get you connected. TCC, TUORU. I love you, and I hope that you continue to see how you fit in the fitting room. Peace.